Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Seems that people don't get tired of looking at Oncidium sotoanum. It is a good show this time round. This is just a quick look at some blooms, including a new one recently opened. The Cymbidium's opened up. That's about as good as they get. They do open in a cup shape, like a lot do. Some open flatter, but that's how this one is. Gorgeous velvety red on the end of that lip. They are very attractive blooms. And not a bad colour, because some of the Cymbidiums in this colour range have a muddy look to them. You know, a sort of, not quite a clean colour, if you know what I mean. And those in particular I'm not too keen on. But I like this one. The other spike over here is pushing on nicely. That's now been strapped up so that it stays upright. And because it's quite a bit behind this one, I mean this one hasn't even fully opened yet, it's still got some buds to go. So obviously this spike is a couple of weeks behind that one, which will prolong, you know, the blooming period by quite a bit, I should think. My Masdevallia is still looking good. That's hanging in there. Whoops, fall over backwards, why don't you? That's hanging in there really well. Quite long lasting, I'm surprised. My Dendrobium alexandrae is going to be open soon. Bud's just starting to split there, so that'll be coming soon. What else? The Miltonia Queen Anne has finally got colour on one of the buds. So you can get an impression of what sort of purple we're going to get when that opens up. It's taken a hell of a long time, I must admit. That has bloomed before, and I don't remember the spike taking that long. But if you want probably the longest wait of any, it's this one over here, Mylalia anceps. Two good spikes. It's still not forming buds. I can't remember how long these two spikes have been pushing on, but the blooms will come. I hope they're worth the wait. And not that long lasting, you know, considering it's a once a year event. Nonetheless, we'll have it while it's going. What else? The Hibiki, I want to show this one next deliberately. These are starting to fade now. We've still got blooms. There's still a good few there, but hang on, let's get down on one knee and get my fingers in there so you get an impression of the size of the blooms. That's the bit I want. So that when we move on to the next one, which is precariously perched up here, and I'll have to get down on my knees again to fully appreciate it. Quite a lot larger, but very similar. Two clusters on this one, another cluster over here opening up. It's very difficult to hang this in the right place. And this is a conundrum. The description of Dendrobium glomeratum says small sized plant. Well, I wouldn't call a 2/3 of a metre cane a small sized plant. And if you look at this older cane here, we're starting up here and coming right down to there. That's not a small sized plant by any means. The plant itself is up here. Some of the older canes are quite small, and we've got two new growths starting. They're still growing. I haven't got a very good root system on this one, but the new growths will push some more roots out. But nonetheless, this is last year's cane. That's still not small. That's still not small at all. So I'm beginning to wonder whether this is glomeratum, because the sheer size of the plant doesn't match up the description. But this was grown from seed by my friend who's got his own laboratory and everything. So I would say it was a reliable plant. I would imagine he would have checked what he was doing when he actually produced the seed. And it's just species crossed with species. It's just, you know, the normal process that you would get. So it's not a hybrid. But yeah, the plant size just doesn't look right to me. This looks far too big. But colours are gorgeous, lovely deep purple, with a splash of orange, so very similar to Hibiki, and produced in a totally different way. Hibiki produces its bud clusters more towards the base of the plant rather than towards the ends of the canes. Whereas on this one, the clusters have come towards the end of the cane, nowhere near the base of the plant. In fact, they're miles away. But anyway, this one hasn't bloomed for so long. The last time it bloomed in my records, it just says May, June, no year. That's how long ago it was. But I finally got the flipping thing to bloom again. Now at least I know, I'll get to know how long the blooms actually last. I don't know whether they're going to be long lasting like Hibiki is, but at least we've got them now. They're good sized blooms, but unfortunately they do hang down. They do hang downwards. It's, so even if, because of the length of the canes, even if I put the mount as close to the roof as I can get it, I've still got a duck to get underneath to look up at these blooms. So they don't display that well in here. Obviously, if I had a higher roof, they would be better. But anyway, at least it's bloomed. Now, I've got some faffing to do now. The talk that I did Tuesday evening, they didn't have a projector, so I had to borrow the one from the Orchid Society, which is a FaF. I really have got to remember to take it back for the next meeting or I'll get shot. Well, I'd have to go home and get it because the speaker wouldn't have a projector because we've said we'll supply it, So I bought one for myself. I can use it for watching movies. I've already got a screen, but the projector I got is like 20 years old and ancient and very low power. It's not very good at all. So I thought I'll get a modern one, a new one. But I've got a FaF with it. It arrived yesterday. Of course, you get things like that out of the box. It's an electrical item. You plug it in and you turn it on to make sure it works. And the fan on it is, in my opinion, excessively noisy. So what they've asked me to send some evidence, like a video or something. So I'm going to set up a little experiment in a minute. I've got to film it because I've got to send them the video. But I'll do it as a low quality one because it's got to be emailed, otherwise it'd be too big. So what I'm going to do is set up the Orchid Society's projector and my new one next to it and set the camera up on the tripod so that it's a fixed distance from the two projectors. And then I'm going to play some music on the computer system, just some YouTube music. I can't put a CD on or I'll get a copyright strike. So I'll get some music that I'm allowed to play and run the camera, turn on the Orchid Society's projector so that the camera picks up the level of sound and then turn on my new one so that we can get a direct comparison and the level of noise of the fan against the sound of some music playing. Bearing in mind the object of a projector is to watch films and things, home cinema and all that sort of stuff. And you sit a suitable distance from your screen, and to get a nice big picture on the screen, the projector is going to be quite close to where you're sitting. So the noise of the fan, is quite important, or lack of it is more important. Anyway, so we'll have a little game with some gadgets and then I can send the video off. I don't know what the hell they're going to do about it. If that's the noise it makes, then so be it. But in this day and age, it's not really on. For a home cinema projector, you'd expect it to run incredibly quiet. And quite honestly, with the computer fans I've got in here and some of the repairs I've done on computers, you can buy a fan that is virtually silent nowadays, virtually noiseless. Well, in something like a projector, wouldn't it be a good idea to use a fan of that, noise level, rather than one that whirs away like a flipping digger in the background? Anyway, we'll have some fun with that in a minute. So, anyway, Dendrobium glomeratum finally opened. Beautiful blooms, very attractive, but they don't look as attractive as they would on the supposed small plant that it's supposed to be. If you see what I mean. Because it's miles away from the plant. It only blooms on leafless canes. It blooms on the older canes, so that's that's how it is. But Yeah, as I say, last year's growth, not as long as these really old canes. Those are my canes. Those have been grown since I got it. I think if you look at the base of the plant, these few canes here were what I bought from my friend. And then since then I've grown some more. And they've got bigger and bigger. But this one last year was a bit smaller. And I don't know what the next two are going to do. We'll have to wait and see. But that definitely is not a small plant. Unless, well, there is no unless. You know, the descriptions I've seen of this plant are small, cool growing Dendrobium. And that is not small. It's enormous. Well, long. Anyway, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. I thought I'd add this one on the end. It's down on the floor, so I'm holding the camera at arm's length, maybe a bit wobbly, but this is my Coelogene Moriana Magnifica, and these are large blooms. These are large Coelogene blooms, one of the large whites, and colours are just gorgeous. Not giving it its full justice. If I could get this in some sort of dappled sunlight, the bloom would actually sparkle. But that's about the best I can do at the moment. It's a real dull, miserable, drizzly, cold day. As is the UK winter. That's what we live with. See you next time.